Welcome back to the Truth Factory. Let's talk about the Alabama election and Roy Moore. I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about Moore's sexual assault allegations, as I'm sure a lot of you already know about that. All I want to add is that with every #MeToo allegation that doesn't result in a confession of guilt or smoking gun evidence, it needs to be looked into individually to see if it's true. It's far too easy to lump everyone together to be burned at the stake by the internet lynch mob, and all I've seen for evidence against Moore is a yearbook that the accuser has admitted to tampering with.
The Roy Moore accuser now admitting that she forged part of the yearbook inscription attributed to the Alabama Senate candidate.
Real victims of a crime typically wouldn't have to alter or forge evidence. The fact that Moore just happened to be running for Senate feels like a very interesting time to finally come out with these allegations after all these decades. Now, if I'm wrong about this and she really was a victim of sexual assault, then shame on me. I'm obviously not a judge and I don't know the whole case, but red flags went up when I saw that her lawyer was Gloria Allred. This is the same lawyer who was representing all three women who accused Donald Trump of sexual misconduct. According to Bill O'Reilly, he has a tape of a lawyer offering $200,000 to a woman to accuse Donald Trump of untoward behavior.
An audio tape of an anti-Trump person offering $200,000 to a woman to accuse Donald Trump of untoward behavior.
So I'm just going to take a stab in the dark and guess that that lawyer is Gloria Allred. To me, this whole thing felt like a setup from day one, and it looks like Roy Moore will be suing his accuser for defamation. But it's already too late. The damage has been done. To be completely transparent, I'm not personally a Roy Moore fan, but I can admit that there was a concerted effort to destroy Moore as soon as he won the primaries, and that something screwy is going on here. Now, the election's over and Doug Jones was announced the winner with 1% more votes than what would trigger an automatic recount. And here's a clip of all the Republicans protesting this. Oh, never mind, Republicans don't have time for that because they all have jobs. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Even with all those allegations, you would think Roy Moore still should have won in Alabama, which is a state that's been Republican for the last 25 years. I mean no offense when I say that a sack of kitty litter with a pro-life sign on it could have beat Doug Jones in Alabama. Yet we're asked to believe that Alabama, a state that's more religious than Iran, voted for a pro-choice Democrat? And that more black people voted for Doug Jones than they did Obama in Alabama, and they all came out to vote Democrat in an off-year special Senate election? And that the Supreme Court's decision to allow the immediate destruction of digital ballots is a standard procedure. Yeah, how's that for a big old deep state dicking? Who needs democracy anyway? It just makes for a free and civil society. Oh well. So here's what I don't get. An Alabama judge ordered the electronic voting records be preserved for the standard 6 months. Yet the Supreme Court immediately blocked that order. The full hearing won't happen until December 21st, and until then the state has the green light to destroy those records, which would take about a whole 8 minutes, and they're probably already deleted. Now, I imagine that those records are stored on hard drives, which basically cost nothing to store. So the only reason that you would have to destroy those would be if you had something to hide, like you rigged the election and you want to get rid of the evidence. Oh wait, no, there can't be any voter fraud in Alabama because of their strict ID policy, right? Well, let's take a look at Alabama's voter ID policy. And there's where the issues are. Valid state-issued ID, Alabama, or any other state, or valid student or employee ID issued by a state institution of higher learning in any other state. This means that anyone with a student ID card from any state can vote in the Alabama Senate election. Now, those cards must be pretty official, though. Pretty hard to forge a student ID card, right? Well, I did a crappy one in about 30 seconds. Obviously, if you were actually attempting voter fraud, you'd put a little bit more research and effort into it, but all you would need would be a card printer, which you can easily buy online. And then boom! All the illegal immigrants in your county now have fake IDs that they can legally vote with. You can make multiple identities for the same person, too, so they can vote multiple times. It's not that hard.
Are you excited to see this victory?
Because we came here all the way from different parts of the country as part of our fellowship, and all of us pitched in to vote and canvass together, and we got our boy elected.
And maybe you've heard that felons were able to vote in this election. Unfortunately, that's true because of a new law called the Definition of Moral Turpitude Act. And in Alabama, if a convicted person loses the ability to vote, he can petition to have it restored by a pardon or certificate of eligibility. Okay, so a few felons voted. That's not enough to swing anything, right? Wrong! The estimates of felons who voted were somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000, which would have made the difference in an automatic recount. Now, I can't call this fraud because it's legal, but there was obviously a massive effort to get all those votes from felons. Now, at the time that I'm making this video, the military absentee ballots still haven't been totally counted. Although it's unlikely that there'd be enough to give Moore the win, it is possible to give him enough just to warrant an automatic recount, which would be hard if all the voting data has already been destroyed. But since they've already gone through all this effort to get Jones in, I doubt it would make any difference because it's like whose line is it anyway, where it's all made up and the votes don't matter. It's not that big of a stretch to fathom that voter fraud could be real. We know that the DNC rigged the primaries against Bernie Sanders, so why would you think that anything else would be impossible? If Doug Jones had won fair and square, congratulations, great. But my kitty litter detector is going off the charts, so let's not complacently act like this was a fair election. This was just one last vote for the wall, and I have no doubt that this was a test run for the 2018 midterms and beyond. And if they can get away with this in red state Alabama, everyone should be uncomfortable because the deep state's coming for all of you next. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and all that jazz. If you want to support me on Patreon, there is a link in my description. Have a great night. Meow.